And now we can share this call with the grandkids if they are able to watch it
later.
So I
Well,
guess what we went
gonna
over,
put
he
it
was
in the cloud, or are you going to put it on a CD?
well, right now it's recording to my computer, and then I can post it to Facebook or some other place that, if you have a suggestion that you'd like it someplace, or I could put it on YouTube if we want, however is best. So I guess we went over, so I guess Victor Lavon was known as Larry in his life, and then he died young. And Matthias, you were how old when he passed away?
Well, I mean, I was born in 56, so if it was 61, then I was 5 years old.
What do you remember about Larry?
Well, I mean, he always was just a very warm, had a warm fatherly presence to him. I mean, he just seemed like he had, a lot of knowledge, and was just extremely warm and loving person. My main experience with him is, I guess, when I was about 4.5 or maybe even 5. I had a really, really bad fever. I don't know what I was suffering from, but it was, 104 and going above. And so Grandpa basically took me and put me in an iced tub, and just sort of like cradled me in the tub until my fever went down, and could have possibly saved my life at that point. I mean, it's a weird thing. I don't know if people actually still use that technique as far as bringing a fever down or not. Probably not. But one of the things with when I was ever since I was a kid up until maybe about my mid-20s, I always felt like I had a guardian angel, like I really had a presence that was there with me and kept me safe in certain situations as I was growing up. And as I went on, I really came to believe, and this is maybe in my own mind or whatever, that it was Grandpa, that it was his spirit that was my guardian angel and helping me through things. So I mean, that I have a very strong connection to him and his spirit just through those experiences.
Well, I believe that too. So I think that you're probably correct.
Did you have that experience?
Yes.
That's amazing. That's really great.
And I have to say that I felt Grandma Irene's presence so many times in my life. It's not anything that we're saying that people don't already know, but Mom, our mother, Darl, she had depression, and she did the best she could with us, and I honor her for that. But as her daughter, a lot of times there were times when I needed a mom and she wasn't there. And Grandma Irene's picture was always in my bedroom as I was growing up. And that picture, I would look at it and I would know she was there. And I knew that she was smiling and she was cheering me on. And so when you said that, I just, yeah, I know that Grandma Irene was with me as I was growing up. And I want to say also, there were many times when Mom was there for me. And so it wasn't like she was never there, but there were some times when I needed to have some comfort. And I know it came from Grandma Irene. So thank you, Matthias, for sharing that and letting me have that opportunity to share this.
Thank you.
Those are wonderful stories. John or Peggy or David, did you guys have any personal stories?
I'm kind of like in the same boat with Matthias, where I was born in 57, so I only was about 4 years old when he passed. The only kind of fake memory I might call it a fake memory of him is I have a picture of our family with Larry, and I think it's not even Grandma Irene. I think it's at, where is it at? It's in Arlington,
You mean this
Virginia.
one?
I see
Anina. but I don't-
Anina, I see Larry and our family, but I don't see anyone else in the picture.
The picture was taken by Anna, so it's
So
not,
it's probably Anna.
it's not, it's when you. were-
So, I mean, I'm being held by my mother. So I'm 4 years old.
Well, that's a picture how can you share that with us?
Can you share it?
It's on Family
Let's
Search.
just flip it around and show it here. Unplug it.
Are y'all on Family Search?
No,
And
It's this picture here. Get it right.
okay.
Probably get
Flip it up just a
video sync's not great.
flip it. We're getting there. We're getting there. Oh yeah. Yeah, I've seen that picture too.
now
So-
that
Right, Matthias.
that was not grandma's house, or at
That
least not
was-
that she lived in for 50, 60 years.
It says it was in Arlington, but I don't know where in Arlington it was. So it could have been.
Well, Arlington is the wrong town. They lived in Falls Church. So if the picture was taken in Arlington, it was someplace other than their home.
Yeah.
Is that what you remember, Matthias? Where did
Well,
Grandma Anna live?
Grandma lived in Arlington,
In Ireland.
but they could have very easily lived in Falls Church, which is literally the next county. It's like 10 minutes away.
But my connection to Larry or Lavon was kind of through Family Search kind of stuff. Things is like I was looking at the census, and I was looking at in the census it says he was a cartographer, you know, back in the 30s, and I was trying to figure out what I guess he was going to. There you go. There's the picture that I remember.
So that photo is one of the black and white photos that I possess, and I had artificial intelligence colorize it. So
Oh,
these colors are not real, but they look pretty good.
Yeah, good
See,
job.
isn't that Matthias down here? Or
Yep.
yeah, Matthias is standing at the front in front of his mom, and then I'm in my mom's arms.
So this is Matthias here.
I
Okay.
think so. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
East-
I remember him having curly hair.
I didn't have any hair.
Excuse me, Tori.
Yeah.
Yeah.
George is in the waiting room. He needs to be let in.
Oh, okay. Thanks for letting me know. Let me.
The other interesting thing about this story is that David was 4 years old and had never spoke. He wouldn't speak. His family would just be at his beck and call and do whatever they wanted. But Grandma Anna would not do that. And so by the time they spent the week there or whatever, by the time the week was over, he was speaking run-on sentences because
And I was
she
talking
would not,
everybody's ear off. They
she
kind
would
of
not
wished.
put up with a 4-year-old that didn't speak.
And I think I heard my mom said they kind of wish that she hadn't have done that, because then I was just like a run-on mouth after that.
So
So
this
here-
is David. You're here. You're being held by.
Yes.
Okay. And
That's
that
me.
I guess this means this is Tom.
Yep.
Is that
Yep.
right? And this is Irene.
I wonder who
Mhm.
that is.
And this is John here.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. That's a great photo. I love that.
Well, and I have to tell this story a little bit, add a little bit more to that story that David told. Grandma Anna made the best potato salad, and we were having lunch, and she'd made the potato salad, and we were kind of all lining up there with our plates.
Now, when you say Grandma Anna, who is that?
That is Lavon's second wife. That's the only grandma that we really knew, because Grandma Irene died about 4 months before I was born.
Okay, so you called her. It was Anna, I guess. I thought it was. Is it spelled like Anina or?
No,
Anina was my mother.
Okay. All right. Just wanted to make sure we're all on the same page. Okay, so
Okay.
Grandma Anna. Sorry to interrupt you, Irene. Go ahead.
No, well, so Grandma Anna, and I'm talking right. Grandma Anna is Victor Lavon's second wife, and the grandma that we, as children, that's the one that we knew. But anyway, so she was dishing potato salad onto everybody's plates. And when David came up with his plate, she turned to him and said, "I will give you some potato salad when you ask for it." And he stood there for a minute. And then he said, "May I please have some potato salad?" And those were the first words that I remember him ever speaking.
Huh.
And it was a complete sentence. It was
Yes,
like,
it was. It was a complete sentence,
Wow.
you stinker. So,
Lori, go back to that memory page on Family Search.
Okay.
So let me relay something. Mary is in the background here, and she said that's what Einstein did when he first spoke. He spoke in full sentences.
so there you go,
You're
David.
in good company, David.
So if you go down a little bit, Tori, down below the photos, you'll see the next section after documents. The next section is stories. And once upon a time, Irene has some kind of a book. And once upon a time, she copied a few of the pages that were in the book, and I brought them home. And so these 3 stories that are on here are things that I typed from that book. If you want to click on them, you can, whatever. But basically, one of them talks about the watercolor painting that we have of Victor Lavon when he was helping the people in Germany and giving away things and trading for all the precious things that we have in our china closet.
and smuggling things across
Smuggling things to people
the-
across the border.
the Russian border during the time when they were shutting down the
Mhm. And then the
East and
second
West
story,
Berlin.
let's see, the first one, I think, anyway, that's what those 3, if you want to look at them or talk about them.
So these are great stories. And I know this story was the one that was shared at, I guess we had with the grandkids too, where we all got a copy of this photo, which I thought was wonderful.
That was at
No.
Daryl's funeral.
Yeah, at grandma's funeral. And it did make me think of, Larry is kind of like a smuggler. He's like Han Solo type personality, but in real life, that was really fun for me as one of the grandkids to
In that
think
story.
about him as in that fashion. Yeah. So I don't know if he was, lawless like that or something, but it sounded like he was willing to push the boundaries to help people.
Yeah.
Which,
But wasn't that our dad? I mean, for you, Tori, that would be Grandpa Billings. I mean, Grandpa was never afraid of anything. If he wanted to do something, he'd do it. I mean, he put a bunny in his coat and took it to Arizona and was
On the plane.
on the plane. And when they asked him if he was a magician, he said, "Yeah, sure." I mean, I think that if we look at the personality of Victor Dunn, I think we probably see a little bit of the personality of Victor Lavon.
that's probably true. He was willing to kind of do, I wonder if he got that from Larry, where he would kind of do whatever he needed to do.
Another thing that I remember Grandma telling me about Larry was that they had the big epidemic, like we had here,
Pandemic.
the pandemic, I mean,
1919.
what did they call it?
The flu.
Influenza.
The influenza, and a lot of people, and he was in Vernal, I think, at that time, and there was there, and a lot of people died, and Larry would go around and help people that couldn't get out, and he would leave food on their doorstep, and he would take care of people.
I think he buried a lot of them
And
too.
he buried a lot of people. He was on the burial.
Yeah. So I actually found that memory documented in a book. I don't have the source on that, but there was a story of Lavon going and tending to the needs of people in the pandemic, the influenza pandemic, and leaving soup on their door. And also in one, he went and buried a child. So this is kind of out in, I think, Vernal. And I found it in a gift shop, like one of these, national parks, like the history of this place. I think I was out in Dinosaur National Monument when I found this. So I'll have to look that up and share it. But yeah, like we're not the only ones that are have that memory that he cared for the sick before his service.
If you share it, I'll type it up.
Well,
yeah, I'll get it to you, Carol.
And I have a book, and I've packed it, so I'm sorry that I don't have it available right now. But it was from the German era when grandfather Lavon was in excuse me, was in Berlin. And this is a family history of another of a family from Berlin, a German family that had come to America. And they sent a copy of that book to Grandma Billings, to Darl. And I looked through the book and I found the page where it talks about him coming to their aid. And this is not, it's not a book about Grandpa, it's a book of grandfather. I keep doing that.
I think Irene, in Family Search, that's the excerpt of the book. I typed it up. It's in Family Search in that first story.
Oh, okay, good. Well, good. I'm glad that
So to add context to that, Irene, I do have a great number of these pics in Europe that, let me see if I can, the zoom window's in the way a little bit. But these are photos of them in Germany after the war. And I believe some of these are in Switzerland and that sort of thing on their church service. But I just, man, what a beauty.
Irene, you mentioned that you have stuff from Germany and from Europe and possibly Russia that they got when they were there after the war. I've got a whole bunch of stuff as well. And my understanding is after the war, things like chocolate and like nylon stockings and certain types of food and everything else was much more valuable than any antiques or stuff just that people had. And so they would trade that.
Right. I mean, they would, the stories that I had were that they would come to the apartment and they would say, can your husband, to Grandma Irene, they'd say, can your husband go to the PX and get us 50 pounds of potatoes or a bag of flour? And,
right.
and in exchange, and I mean, this is the other thing that you have to know about the German people is they didn't want, I mean, this was the things that I from the stories is that they didn't want charity. They wanted to be able to give something of value for something of value. And that Grandpa Victor,
Victor Dunn.
Dunn, yeah, thank you, Dunny, that he was so respectful of the German people and of the fact that they were good, honest, hardworking people just trying to live their lives and trying to pick up the pieces from a shattered world. And I just have so much love and respect for these people that got caught up in a terrible thing, but they weren't terrible people. I never felt like there was anything but just love and respect and
I think that's a good point. And Irene, is that I know obviously Victor Dunn went to fight in World War II and also Victor Lavon was there. But I never heard Victor Dunn in my entire lifetime say anything disparaging about the Germans, even though they went to fight the Nazis, etc. He just loved the German people. So it was, I'm sure, Larry probably had a similar outlook to that.
So I have something here that I'd like to show you guys. After the war, when Larry went there, my mom, he actually sent for my mom, Anina. And at that point, Anina had polio. She couldn't walk. She was brought to Germany on a stretcher, and basically got better there. But the German people were very, very appreciative. And it sounds like he probably was a lot more than a clerk at that point, because they brought him over specifically to rebuild the German patent office. And so what they presented to him, and I hope you can see it, is they presented to him this statue. Now, this is a statue of a lion that was in Nymphenburg outside of Munich. And this was given to him by the patent office for his efforts and appreciation of rebuilding the patent office. And if you'd like, I'd be happy to take some nice pictures of this and I can give them to you, Tori.
Oh, that's wonderful. I would love to have some photos of that.
When you say rebuild the patent office, I've always heard that he was rebuilding the patents themselves and taking out anti-Semitic things in the patents. What do you mean by rebuilding the patent office?
Well, I mean, the patent office was like most of the governmental agencies, it was in complete disarray. And so from my understanding is he actually went back and tried to help reorganize it, which probably had a lot to do with what you're saying as well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I believe that at the time when he went, he was a colonel in the Army, and but he was also had a degree at that time. He got his degree in engineering, and
Well, and he also was a patent lawyer. He
also became a patent attorney at the time too. But I remember my dad telling me stories that Dunny was having a hard time in school, and he was trying to be a dad and trying to be married and everything. And Larry said to him, son, I just started school, when I was like 30 something. I didn't even start to go to school until I was in my 30s. So, buck up, buddy. That's kind of the story I heard about him, like get up, move on, just get your act together, And so I kind of always prided myself as being a third generation engineer, although none of my kids followed me in my footsteps of becoming an engineer. They've all done something different. But
do you have grandchildren?
Well, maybe I'll have an engineer grandchildren. I don't know.
Tom, you were trying to say something, Tom? Is there something you wanted to add? I thought you were trying to say something. If not, that's okay.
Oh, no, I probably was, but when they did brain surgery on me, I think they cut out some of my ability to remember things. So
I have that problem, and we haven't had brain surgery over
I was going to say,
yeah, what's my excuse?
maybe what I was going to say is because of Grandma Irene's maiden name, it was done. So we have I started a little joke with my family whenever anybody said, Tom, are you done yet? Aren't you done yet? And I said, yeah, I'm 1/4 done. Because grandma was a done.
Well, I have to ride the coat strings on that one. In fact, I have two. So let me do the since that one. But Doug's mother, her maiden name was Dunn. And so the joke now in our family is that Doug is half done, I'm quarter done, and all of our children are done on both sides. So there you go.
That's a pretty good one.
And I will never be done. Me
So-
neither.
Okay,
So let
now
me
I
ask,
didn't tell-
what type of engineer was he?
Mechanical.
So I know in his World War I record, his military record, he served in the Army Corps of Engineers. What that means exactly, if he was, cutting wire, running wire, it's hard to know. I've tried to discover that. So if we ever find that out, I'd be interested in knowing. But that's quite a transition from being a mechanical engineer to a patent lawyer.
Well, he told the stories. I heard stories about when he was going to school to be an attorney, because he'd get home and he'd be so tired he couldn't read his school books, and so he would lay on the couch with his head on Grandma Irene's lap, and she would read the law books to him to help him get through and get his jurisprudence degree. And that's why, because he had that, that's why the Army had him go to Germany to help rewrite, what's it called? Dad used to say it was to denazify the German
patents.
Laws.
yeah. Yeah. So that's what Grandpa was in Germany for, was because the Army sent him there to work on the German records.
Yeah. The other interesting thing about him being a patent attorney was that he got to work a lot with Werner von Braun on transmitting a lot of the patents that the Germans had for rockets and making American, United States patents. And I mean, I have a photograph of Werner von Braun that is signed.
I don't know where that is.
We have to go find it. I know we had it at one time. It's kind of
Well,
It's like you need to upload that to Family Search.
Yep. But that was an interesting thing, that we have another connection to a famous German scientist, and
Well,
Well,
and Grandma Anna was his, Matthias, you'd probably know better about Grandma Anna and her.
Yeah, I was going to say, Grandma Anna was his personal secretary. And when he came to the United States in Alabama, when Werner von Braun was here, Grandma was his personal secretary. And so we went down to visit.
I didn't know that.
Visit there, yeah.
Well,
And didn't he also write some of his speeches? Wasn't she also did that?
Yeah.
well, part of that was because she spoke and read and wrote, I think, 7 different languages. So when Werner von Braun got correspondence from people in other countries, she had the ability to translate those so that Werner von Braun could could read, and then she could write messages back to those people in their language. And that's why she was his personal secretary, was because of her language abilities. Do you remember her speaking different languages, Matthias?
Yeah, I mean, it was mainly the languages were German and English, but I know she spoke French and some Spanish. Yeah, she definitely knew a number of languages. Yeah.
I remember the number 7. I remember the number 7. So but I never knew what languages they were.
I'd like to throw something in here. Hi, I'm Mary.
Hi, Mary.
There was a movie that came out before Grandma died, and it's a little.
Okay,
Mary, we can't hear you. You
Can't
need
hear
to
you too
move
well.
closer to the mic.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
There's a little movie called October Sky that came out before Grandma passed, and it's about a story about a young man who did rocket science in West Virginia, and he did have this passing contact with Werner von Braun, and one of the things from a fan letter, and von Braun wrote back, and when Grandma was watching the movie, he said, "I probably."
It seems, Mary, it seems like to me that mic is a really directional mic or something, and you have to actually be faced whenever you're looking
Okay.
away from us. There you go.
What time? What did you miss? If you can look it up, there's a little movie called October Sky that came out before Grandma died. It's about a young man in West Virginia who liked to build rockets, and it's his
I
story.
love that movie.
Yeah, and at one point he writes fan mail to von Braun and he gets a letter back. And Grandma said when she watched the movie, she goes, "I probably wrote that letter. I wrote all his fan mail." So I thought it was a really nice direct connection to it.
Oh, cool.
That's cool.
Thanks for sharing. I love it.
So
It's a neat story. I'll have to watch it.
I've got something I want to just share here. So I went over to Huntsville, Alabama, to the NASA.
Redstone Arsenal.
Well,
Redstone.
there's the museum over there, the Space and Science Museum. And I asked them about getting information, if there's any research articles or anything that they could find that might have my grandfather's name on that. They gave me a name. I don't know what I did with that, but we could probably get that again. But they could look through their archives and see if there's any information there where Victor Lavon Billings' name comes up, and even we could put Anna's name in there too, and see what comes up that they could share with us that might be something we could add to the record here. Just saying.
One thing I'd like to see, John, if you guys have it, I know on Family Search, which is kind of the repository that everybody's able to use, there's not really any photos or memories of Grandma Anna that I can see. She's just listed as the wife of
Mary.
Larry. So if you
Yeah,
or anybody has some photos, it'd be great to add it to her record to kind of flesh out. In my mind, I can't even think of what she looks like.
yeah, I may have some photos. As a matter of fact, one of the things is she was actually an Olympian in the 36 Olympics. So she was actually a very, very athletic woman.
Oh, wow.
You know what event?
Running,
Yeah, it was.
running.
Running?
I'm not sure
Yeah.
which
I
running.
think it was, I'm not sure which one it was, but when she got to be an old lady, I took her to the doctor.
He'd have
And
been-
she would say how much she hated to walk like a little old lady. She wanted to walk fast. So I think that was always in her genes.
So that Olympics is the famous Olympics
Yes, it is.
that was in Berlin.
Yep.
That Jesse Owens competed in, right? Am I correct on that?
Yes.
Well, and you know that we have a copy of, and I'm pretty sure it's something that Alan asked for at one point, and so Grandpa gave it to him. But it's the 36 Olympics, and it's a pictorial history of it. It's like a book that's maybe I'd say about a half an inch thick, but it's like a coffee table type book. Anyway, and the pictures were all come on, they were all hand glued in. It wasn't like something that was printed and sent out. This was something that was hand glued together. Anyway, and so I need to get that from Alan and maybe have that. I'd like to, see, I'm sure that there's probably something that mentions Grandma Anna in it since it's that Olympics. But anyway, that's a artifact that maybe we need to get that downloaded so that we have that available to more of us.
Yeah, if she competed in the Olympics, I'd definitely be interested in seeing that. I'm curious. There has to be some stories about that. That would, I mean, being in the same arena where Adolf Hitler was there and all the flags, like that would be hard to forget that experience where she was running in that. That blows my mind.
Now, I believe as a teenage girl, when, or maybe a little bit later, when the war was in full swing, she found her way, was spirited off to, I believe, France.
Running.
And so she was able to escape some of the horrible things in Germany, and made it through the war that way.
Do you know how they met, Matthias?
No, actually I don't. Do you know, Mary?
No.
No, sorry.
The thing that I seem to remember, I mean, and like I said, this is just something back in the back of my mind. I think that I remember that she was one of the secretaries that helped in the patent office, and that he met her as a secretary in the patent office. That's what comes to my mind. So, for what it is.
Cool.
So along with Matthias's memory, I wanted to tell a story about Grandpa Larry, and when we would go visit, my dad, Dunny, would take us back to Virginia every other year, to visit Grandma and Grandpa. And we were just little kids, but we, one of the things that Grandpa Larry would do, he would fill his pants pockets with silver dollars. That's probably back when a silver dollar was just worth $1 instead of 500. But he would put silver dollars in his pocket, and then he would stand on his head. He was so fit. Oh, there you go. He was so fit that he could stand. He could do push-ups and pull-ups, and he would stand on his head, and any coins that fell out of his pockets, we children could keep. We picked them up off the rug, and we could keep them. And so that was one of the tricks that Grandpa Larry,
I remember that.
did.
I love that story. One of the photos that you have here is he had his shirt off here, and I don't know if that's a overlook in Switzerland or something, but he doesn't look, like when I think, Bronson, he looks really strong, but he must have been fairly athletic, him being in this armed services for so long.
Yeah, he kept himself up as on a regular basis. until he got that multiple, they call it Lou Gehrig's. He got Lou Gehrig's disease, whatever that.
But lateral sclerosis is what they called it.
Lateral sclerosis.
Yeah.
So that's when he started failing, and we've since learned that lateral sclerosis, or I guess maybe any kind, is a after effect of being bitten by a tick and getting Lyme's disease. And see, when in Virginia, he used to work a lot at clearing trees and underbrush, and he would work without his shirt on. And so probably he got a tick sometime then, and they might not even have known what Lyme disease is, but that's getting bit by a tick was eventually what took his life. But
Well,
years later.
I think the thing too that was always a sadness for me was when we would talk about the fact that he was born in 1900 and he wanted to live 100 years. He wanted to live to the year 2000.
That was his goal.
When the year 2000 came, I just kind of, my heart was a little sad, because I thought if grandfather Lavon had gotten, or grandfather Billings had gotten his wish, he would have been there. We would have been able to celebrate the new century with him, but it wasn't to be. And so, but I remember that he said that it was important to him to keep his body healthy and fit, because he was going to live to 100. So anyway.
Right.
I think one of the other memories, just speaking of that, I remember when we went to one of the trips we went back, we were in, Huntsville, Alabama. And they had rented a little cabin type place for us to stay in. It was a summer home. And there was a great big lawn that took us down to the river, down to the Tennessee. It was, I think it was the Tennessee River. That's what I remember anyway. We'd have to look it up to see for sure. But anyway, I remember that he would go out and he cut that lawn, and he looked very similar to what he looked in that picture, where he was out getting the sun while he was mowing the lawn, and that he told us, you can't roll in the grass, because if you do, you're going to get chiggers. And so I remember him talking to us about chiggers and about, playing in the water in the river, being able to go out and do a little bit of paddling and a lot of splashing in that river.
Well, you're right. It was a Tennessee, because it was part of the Tennessee Valley River
Authority, was it?
Authority, and the water level of the river would change every other day, because their way of controlling, Tennessee Authority could control the mosquitoes by, as they raised the water level on one section of the river, it would drown all of the larvae that were laid on the edge of the water, and then the next day they would lower it a foot, and all of the larvae would dry out and die. And so they raised and lowered the water level every other day, and they might still do that now to control the mosquito population. So you're right about the Tennessee River.
Okay, well.
Not in Chattanooga, they don't do that.
You
I
have,
just, while you were
Yeah,
mentioning
yeah,
that
right.
story, this is one of the photos of Larry. He just on a boat, just like you were saying, with the shirt off, and the swimming trunks, and just kind of, living the life out there.
I love that.
Let me relate something to his interest
Show the
in
picture again, Tori.
What's that? Oh, okay, sure.
the
It just came up.
he apparently was very interested in fitness and possibly even bodybuilding. One of the things that for me was actually initially quite shocking was I ran across this library of slides, color slides, and they were all these slick studio shots of scantily clad men, muscular, very well lit and everything. At first I was sort of like, whoa, man, this is a little strange. But when you think of it in relation to his interest in bodybuilding and physical fitness, it makes a lot more sense. But I can probably get those and send those off to you, Tori. Digitize them if you're at all interested.
I am. Yeah, I'd be interested in that. I'd love to just, get anything about his life and put it together. I know this is one of the photos that I just really love is that look on his face. This is before he went to service in World War I, and he just seems so kind of haunted to me there.
Right, raise it up a little so we can see the inscription on the bottom.
This says Uncle
okay.
Lavon, World War I.
Now back down.
Where
So-
did that picture come from? I have never seen that before.
Neither have I.
This is just in the stash of photos that it was in the possession of Grandma Billings that I came to protect after her passing.
I
So
thought I looked through all of those, but I don't remember that one.
I've never seen that one. I need that one.
okay,
That
well,
insignia on his cap, isn't that a castle of engineers?
I believe that is correct, John. Yeah, this is another one of the service photos here. Where he's
I've
got
seen
this
that one before.
really neat hat on, but he's such a young boy. With the
You have
boots
to
and everything.
Wasn't he in the cavalry? Wasn't he assigned the cavalry?
His record just says engineers, so it's hard to say what he did over there. I've tried to find out what happened in World War I.
You have to remember the dates for World War I was from 1914 to 1918. The war ended in 1918. And so,
So
his service would probably have occurred after he would have been only 18 years old when the war ended. And so I was always under the impression that the photograph we have of him was taken when he was 19. And I told myself that photo had to have been taken the year after the war was over. Just knowing what the dates of the war was.
that's certainly possible. This might be after the war, and this is before the war. So that's certainly possible, Dad.
Do we have a record of his enlistment anywhere?
So in the chat, I just put a link that has there's an online archive that you can go see that mentions his service record where he served from 7/18/1918 to 3/23/1919 in the engineers. So
If I remember right, the war ended in August of 1918. So
I kind of made a timeline of the what was happening during that time. So he got over there in July somewhere here in 1918, and then served from then until So, right down to 3/23 of 1919. So, even after, I guess, the war was over, he was still serving. But luckily, most of I think the big fights were over, I guess, by the time he kind of got there. So, but I know it, like here, this says Argonne, the Battle of Argonne. And I think on his headstone, it also said Argonne. So maybe I could share that if I think I have that photo of his headstone.
Over his headstone.
Yeah, let me share that really quick.
So I remember Dad saying that he was buried not too far away from
Oh, it's Arcom. That's not right. So yeah, something different.
President Kennedy's grave, where they had the internal flame burning.
Tomb of the Unknown Soldier.
That's right, Tom. It's not very far. We were able to go back and see the headstone when we went back there with our kids.
Are you guys able to see the photo I'm sharing about his headstone?
No.
Oh,
Not
okay.
right. Not
Okay,
yet.
so I'm doing something wrong here. Let me try that
I'd
again.
really like a copy of that timeline that you've got. That's interesting.
Sure. Yeah, I
Oh.
can.
There you go.
So this is a photo of me and my daughter, Rachel Amanda, who's now 19, and VJ. I guess she's 20 now. VJ. And
Lieutenant
we were
Colonel,
at his grave there. Yeah.
World War I, World War II, July. Oh yeah, August 61. What's the ARCOM?
I'm not totally sure what that stands for. Yeah.
It sounds like maybe a certain division or department within the Army.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's probably so. It would be good to find that out. Yeah.
Something we can look up.
I didn't realize that he was in World War II, because see, then you would have had my dad in there too.
Yeah.
Google says ARCOM is a military medal, mid-level award that is granted for consistent acts of heroism or meritorious service.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you, Google.
It's worth 20 promotion points. All
Wow.
enlisted officers and soldiers up to the rank of colonel can receive this award. The ARCOM is higher than an Army Achievement Medal and lower than the Meritorious Service Medal. Up until 1960, this award was only a ribbon, not a medal. Now it's a medal with a ribbon.
Cool.
Peggy, thank you for telling us about your visit there. Do you remember when that happened when you went there?
I took my kids back. We went back in 1994. But I can remember going back as a kid, and I'm trying to, from your stories, I'm trying to pull up the memories. We must have gone and saw Anna. Would that be right?
Yeah, that would have been right, because see, Grandma Irene passed away in, I think, 1952. That's where she was killed in that car wreck in Germany. And then my mother, Darrell Billings, was telling the story that the Army shipped Grandma Irene's body home from Germany so that she could be buried here in Utah. And when she was in one of those aluminum caskets for the flight, and when they opened the casket here in Utah, her skin was all freezer burn damaged, and her body was black. And so the funeral home had to go through and cosmetically recolor her body before her funeral. And she said that they did a miracle of a job of recoloring her body, because they did have an open casket viewing.
But they did it in like an hour. It didn't.
Yeah, it was really short, really fast.
I believe I uploaded those documents of her coming here back to the United States. I uploaded those documents to Family Search. So they should be available there, if I remember right.
So is
I
she
mean,
buried in Provo?
Yes.
One of the things that I have is my mother. Actually, it's kind of strange, but she saved the cape that Irene was wearing when she had the accident and when she died. I still have it. Unfortunately, the inside is like white silk, and it's still all red from her bleeding out. But I should probably take some kind of picture of that as a document.
That's interesting, Matthias. Thank you for telling that. She and both she and your mom were really careful to always dress really nicely, and that was also Aunt Dorothy and another aunt that kind of were part of that trend.
Was it Mickey?
Yeah.
Mickey Dunn?
It could have been. I'm right now, that part of my brain doesn't work real good, but I remember Aunt Dorothy because man, what a woman. She had a really large personality and was so fun to be around. But so I kind of said to myself that Grandma Irene probably was a little bit like that personality.
Well, her husband, Uncle Sid, which was Larry's brother, I believe, actually looked a lot like him. He was tall with a striking white hair and very thin. I remember them a lot when I was growing up.
I can remember the name Uncle Sid. I don't remember what he looked like.
I'll see if I can find pictures.
Just as a time check, we're at about a 1 hour mark. We can continue to reminisce if you guys like, or I just wanted to make sure that way everybody is comfortable to continue, or if anybody needs to leave, we can maybe schedule a second session.
Well,
I probably should put my groceries away.
How does Zoom work?
I was driving back.
They put a time limit on it?
No, there's no time limit. We can keep going. I just wanted to give everybody the opportunity.
Great picture. Is there a place where all the stuff is again centrally that I can find on the internet, or all the pictures and things that we've been talking about?
So I think the photos that we have been sharing for the most part are on familysearch.org.
Okay.
If
so you have to have an account, sign up.
It's a free account, but yeah, if you create an account, and then you can search your family tree from there. And if you need some help doing that, let me know, and we can get on a call together, and I can show you how to do it.
Awesome.
So I
Carol, you're on mute?
I was going to say, you actually have to build your family tree by connecting yourselves to Grandpa Lavon, Grandma Irene, and those people. And so if you connect with one of us, we can help you get their numbers so that you can get right into the correct tree quickly.
Awesome.
We can actually,
See, where's the chat? Is anybody?
I can
There-
put it in chat here. Let me.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if there's a place with everybody's contact or the phone numbers. I know that they were on this text, so I could randomly text people out of the text and see who it is.
Well, you're welcome to text
random phone number.
text me. I responded in there. I can send it
Okay.
as well. Like here, there we go. So in that chat, now you've got my number if you want to add me as a contact. But
Okay, great.
David and I are going to have to go to church in the next 20 minutes or so, but I did want to tell Matthias and George that we got to meet your mother one time. We were back east and she graciously had us over. And I just remember what a classy woman that she was. And in fact, one of our daughter's middle name is Anina.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Yep, great to see everybody.
Yes,
Thank
it's
Thank you.
good to
good to see
see
you too, George.
everybody.
All right,
Bye.
Once
talk to you
once
soon.
again, thanks, John, for including me as a Billings.
You are
You're
a
welcome.
Billings. Peggy Billings.
Everyone knows her by Hurley, not Billings.
That's her daughter.
Apparently not everybody. My
All right,
husband,
I'll see everybody later. Thank you.
Good to
Yep.
see you,
Bye, George.
George.
Take care.
Fond memories.
Till next time.
Well, John, thank you for being the impetus for this meeting.
John, thank you.
Very nice. And then I'll share the recording of this video to the Facebook page, Facebook family page, or anywhere else that we want to. So
When do we want to do our next reunion? And should we have it on the East Coast? It's a question.
Well, it's something that we want to think about. I would love to go to the East Coast again.
Well,
We can't, we obviously have a commitment until August of 23. So we will be here in California until then. And then after that, then love to do something though. Love
Well,
to come back.
I've suggested, I brought that up with Matthias. I think maybe we need to take a look at that and put a date on the calendar and say this is when we're tentatively going to have our next reunion. But I would like to have it on the East Coast.
Yeah,
That
George,
way everybody can
it would be very difficult
plan on going.
it would be very difficult for Tom to attend.
Well, there's always virtually attending, but
This has been really lovely. This has been really.
Sure.
George's kids have been busy making babies. Alexandra just had her second one, and
Oh.
Sean had her first back in October. So
well, maybe what we can do is my wife wants to get a bigger place, so maybe if I got a couple of acres of ground, we could all camp out at the same place.
We can look at that. I wanted to just add one little piece of, because we were talking about Grandma Irene. And I know that a lot of you know this story, but I just wanted it as part of the record that that Grandma had a heart condition. Grandma Irene had a heart condition. And so she was told that her parents were told that she probably would not make it to adulthood. And she did, and she met Victor Lavon and she fell in love and they got married, and the doctors were saying, well, you just need to love her for as long as she's around, but with her frail condition, she probably won't be here for a long time. And and they went ahead and he said, but don't have children. Trying to have a child will kill her. Well, then she got pregnant with Anina, and Anina was born healthy, and the doctor said, don't have another child. You will be, that this is good. You have a child, raise her. And then she got pregnant with our father, with Dunny, and she said, and the doctor said, she probably won't live through this pregnancy. Well, after he was born, he took Grandpa. This is how the story was told to me. He was taken out into he was born in the back of a service station in Price, Utah. The service station was owned by Dunny and by Ole. Oh, was it Ole? Anyway, I think it was Ole. I can't remember. I'll have to look at it. But anyway, the two of them owned the gas station, and they lived in the back part of the gas station in a little home that was built there. And anyway, he brought the doctor brought Dunny out and handed him to his father and said, you have a beautiful, healthy young boy, a baby boy, but don't expect your wife to live through the night. And Irene heard that, and she called out from the bedroom and she said, I will live through the night and I will live to see my children raised. And she died. She died on Dunny's 25th birthday.
Wow.
And so she was prophetic. She said, I will raise my children. And she did.
That's great.
So, anyway, I love that story. And I'm sure maybe you've all heard it, but I wanted it on the record.
Thank you.
It's a great story. Thank you, Irene. Any other anecdotes before we close the call?
Now, this spurs me on to, look through some of the stuff that I've got. I know that after Grandma died, there were some, boxes of military things off of Grandpa's military uniform. I possibly might even have that medal that you were talking about earlier. So I'll look for some of that stuff and try to document it and get it out there.
That'd be wonderful. Thank you, Matthias.
Well, one of the, I was given one of the things that I was talking to somebody about not too long ago. They were talking about family history, and they said that you need to write the stories of your grandparents, because there's no one that is still alive that can give firsthand stories. And I've written a little blurb about Grandma Thompson and Grandpa Thompson, and I'm so delighted to be able to hear these stories that you have. And I'd love to hear more stories about just whatever the little stories are. I mean, you were only 5, but you remember this. Or for me, he died when I was 10, and so I have a lot more stories that I have, a lot more memories that I have of him that I would love to share. So anyway, I need to write mine down, but I would love to have another opportunity to share again. So let's do it.
Sounds great. Thanks a lot.
Love you.
All right.
Love you all.
Love you.
Love you too. Good to see you all again.
Take
Thanks.
care.
Thank you, Tori.
Yes.
problem.
Thank you, John, for putting this together. You're the one that keeps gathering us. Thank you for doing that.
Thanks a lot.
Yes, that's my job.
Thank
right.
you. It was good to see you. Love you both.
Bye-bye.
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 Okay, bye-bye.